Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Yes, we are listening to Mozart, and it's going to be a little late night reading this evening. You can see the chat's all here, ready to go, and ready to get your guys' comments and all your love, as always. So, you might be wondering, what's tonight's book this time? Well, last time we did this, I tried to do James Bond, didn't really work. I think I deleted the video, or the stream anyway. It might still be up, I'm not sure. But we did Kurt Vonnegut, what it's called, the Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. And tonight we're doing something a little more classic, something a little more, I don't know what year this book was. So this is let's see. So in the 1700s. So yeah. So this is let's see, when was this published? First published in 1759. That's when this book was first published. And the name of this book is, and ready for it, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. And this is it's kind of a strange book. It's what's called a shaggy dog story, or also known as a cock and bull story, are cousins of the Irish bull. And this is an Irish book. The author, Lawrence Sterne, it was raised in Ireland. And it's kind of, it's body preposterously comic, brazenly exasperating, and very shrewd in its understanding of human responses. And, kind of picks like a jibe at people and things like that. So, it's a very fun book. I've gotten through I haven't finished it all. This is a very long book. But this gives me kind of a way in a way of, life and opinions, and the introduction kind of goes through the, everything about what makes this book funny, and it's very much like, a guy born of aristocracy and going to school was like learned gentleman. But I mean, you can tell by the look of the title here, guy's just like greeting death at the door, as it's kind of funny looking, and greeting death at the door like, hey, what's up? So kind of funny, kind of fun. And I thought it would be nice to put some background music. And this is for all you folks who, like me, are having trouble sleeping and have to get to work. So again, whether you guys watch the stream or not, but that's kind of what the stream has kind of gotten to. I live in a place right now where it's kind of hard to do music, at least at night. And I know most of you guys are like watching or at night, or some of you late owls who are watching your phones. But I want to give you guys something to, I don't know, just a little culture, I guess. Because we're not really, one of the things that when I was teaching is that we're not, like, kids are not reading. You know what I mean? And I think, there was TV shows like Reading Rainbow growing up, and I think it was what else was out there? I forget. Oh, like Between the Lions, and again, mostly shows on PBS that got kids really into reading. And I was really, so I have all these books and I haven't read them all, but I enjoy reading whenever I have like a minute, or if I decide to pick up a book. And so I guess the purpose of these late night ones is supposed to be about reading and what have you. So um, we'll talk about music, reading, and that's what this channel is going to be about. We're going to be doing reading, singing, making original songs and stuff, and all that. And I'm having some original music coming soon. Okay, and you heard it here for like, I don't know, the mth time. But no, we're seriously gonna get serious about this because we got to start taking ourselves seriously. Not too seriously, obviously, because we're reading books. Set out to do music, and we're going back to reading. And I might be able to do like, like all of the accents and things. So, trying to get a little too much reverb, but and I don't think. Let's see, when was Mozart? We need some context here. This book was published in the, what did I say, 17. This was 17. What is it? First published in 1759-67. So from 59 to 67, that's when this first thing. So let's see, let's get a little history here. When did Mozart's music? Let's see. Mozart years. What? Oh, 1756. So we're on the right path. So this is in the time of. So we picked. I was just wondering. I'm like, is Mozart the right thing? Yeah, but apparently we're right on the money, folks. This book was first published in 1759. So this is around the same time, 56, 59. Oh wait, he was born in 1756. Let's see. 1756 he was born. So this book was pretty much published by the time he was born. So I guess this book had been around for a while. And just prior to 67, Mozart died in 91. So this book was definitely around, at least in certain circles. But it's still the 1700s, I guess. So this music kind of sort of bridges the gap. Can I even call it the gap? Oh, silly me, I had forgotten to put a plosive cover on my microphone. So I'll be right back. Enjoy the music, and I'm just gonna stick a little pop filter on here, and I'll be right back. So enjoy the sounds of Mozart. I'll be right back. we're back. Better than to hear all the, the incessant popping and blah, blah, blah. The plosivity of it all. All these plosives, they get in the way. Anyway, if you're watching, leave a comment, and we're going to get started. And so again, the book we're reading tonight is The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. So Lawrence Sterne was born in 1713 in Clonmel Island, son of an army ensign from 1723 until his father's death in 31. He was sent to school in Halifax, Yorkshire, and he entered as a Caesar at Jesus College, Cambridge, receiving his BA in 1737. With the help of his uncle Jacques, precentor and canon of York, Sterne earned his livings. He took holy orders and in 1738 obtained the living of Sutton in the forest near York and a prebend in the cathedral. In 1741 he married and through his wife's influence received the neighboring benefice of Stillington. Their marriage was generally unhappy. Sterne's literary career began late. His first publication, a pamphlet called A Political Romance, appeared in 1759. In the same year, he began his masterpiece, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. The first of 2 volumes made him a celebrity, and he visited London, where he was lavishly feted between 1761 and 1767. He brought out a further 7 volumes, and he was dogged by ill health for much of his life, and during the later years, he alternated bouts of being lionized in London with recuperative continental travels. And then he ended up dying in 1768, so about a couple years before Mozart died. So, but this book was definitely around, and so kind of a little fitting, I would think. Anyway, so let's just get to it. We'll get into the introduction and all that stuff. Sometimes I really hate, and one thing I liked about this book is that it's got like that whole stuff where there's like stuff written in Greek and everything else. So 1760. So The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. And here we go. To the Right Honourable Mr. Pitt, Sir, never a poor right of a dedicator had less hopes of his dedication than I have this of mine, for it is written in a by corner of the kingdom, and in a retired thatched house, where I live in a constant endeavour to fence against the infirmities of ill health, and other evils of life, by mirth being firmly persuaded that every time a man smiles, but much more so, when he laughs, it adds something to this fragment of life. I humbly beg, sir, that you will honor this book by taking it, not under your protection, it must protect itself, but into the country with you, where if I am ever told it has made you smile, or can conceive that it has beguiled you one of moment's pain, I shall think of myself as happy as a minister of state, perhaps much happier than any one, only one excepted, that I have read or heard of. I am, great sir, and what is more to your honour, I am, great sir, your well-wisher and most humble fellow subject. The author. Volume 1, Chapter 1. I wish either my father, my mother, or both indeed of them, as they were in duty both equally bound to it, had minded what they were about when they begot me. Had they duly considered how much depended upon what they were doing? that not only the production of a rational being was concerned in it, but that possibly the happy formation and temperature of his body, perhaps his genius, and the very cast of his mind. And for aught they knew the contrary, even the fortunes of his whole house might take the turn from the humours and dispositions which were then uppermost. Had they duly weighed and considered all of this, and proceeded accordingly, I am very well persuaded that I would have made quite a different figure in the world from that in which the reader is likely to see me. Believe me, good folks, this is not so inconsiderable a thing as many of you might think it. You have all, I dare say, heard of the animal spirits and how they are transferred from father to son, etc., etc., and a great deal to that purpose. Well, you may take my word that 9 parts in 10 of a man's sense or his nonsense, his success and miscarriages in this world depend upon the motions and activity, and then when different tracks and trains you put them on to, so that when they are once set a-going, whether right or wrong, 'tis not a halfpenny matter. Away they go, cluttering like hay-go mad, and by treading the same steps over and over again, they presently make a road of it, as plain and as smooth as a garden walk, in which they are once used to. The devil himself sometimes shall not be able to drive them off it. Pray, my dear, quoth my mother, have you not forgot to wind the clock? Good God! Cried my father, making an exclamation, but taking care to moderate his voice at the same time. Did woman, since the creation of the world, interrupt a man with such a silly question? Pray, what was your father saying? Nothing. Mm-mm. Chapter 2. Then, positively, there is nothing in question, that I can see either good or bad. Then let me tell you, sir, it was a very unseasonable question, at least, because it scattered and dispersed the animal spirits whose business it was to have escorted and gone hand in hand with the homunculus, and conducted him to the safe place destined for his reception. The homunculus, sir, in however low and ludicrous light he may appear, in this age of levity to the eye of folly or prejudice, to the eye of reason in scientific research, he stands confessed, a being guarded and circumscribed with rights. The minuest philosophers who, by the by, have the most enlarged understandings, their souls being in mercilessly as to their enquiries, she was inconstantly that the homunculus is created by the same hand, engendered in the same course of nature, endowed with the same locomotive powers and faculties with us, that he consists, as we do, of skin, hair, fat, flesh, veins, arteries, ligaments, nerves, cartilages, bones, marrow, brains, glands, genitals, humors, and articulations, in being of such activity, and in all senses of the word, as much and as truly as our fellow creature, as my Lord Chancellor of England. He may be benefited, he may be injured, he may obtain redress. In a word, he has all the claims and rights of humanity, which Tully Puffendorf or the best ethic writers allow to arise out of that state and relation. Now, dear sir, what if any accident had befallen him in his way alone? Or that through terror of it natural to do, a young traveller, my little gentleman, had got to his journey's end miserably spent, his muscular strength, his virility worn down to a thread, his own animal spirits ruffled beyond description, and that, in this sad, disordered state of nerves, he had laid down a prey to sudden starts or a series of melancholy dreams and fancies for 9 long, long months together. I tremble to think what a foundation had been laid for 1,000 weaknesses, both of body and mind, which no skill of the physician, or the philosopher could ever afterwards have set thoroughly to rights. Chapter 3. To my uncle, Mr. Toby Shandy, do I stand indebted for the preceding anecdote, to whom my father, who was an excellent natural philosopher and much given to close reasoning upon the smallest of matters, had oft and heavily complained of the injury. But once more particularly, as my uncle Toby will quite remembered upon his observing a most unaccountable obliquity, as he called it, in my manner of setting up my top and justifying the principles upon which I had done it, the old gentleman shook his head, and in a tone of more expressive by half sorrow than reproach, he said his heart all along foreboded, and he saw it verified in his and from 1,000 other observations he had made upon me, that I neither think nor act like any other man's child. But alas, continued he, shaking his head a second time, wiping away a tear which was trickling down his cheeks, my Tristram's fortunes began 9 months before he had ever came into the world. My mother, who was sitting by, looked up, but she knew no more than her backside. What my father meant, but my uncle, Mr. Toby Shandy, who had often informed of the affair, understood him very well. Chapter 4. I know there are readers in the world, as well as many other good people in it, who are no readers at all, who find themselves ill at ease unless they are let into the whole secret from first to last of everything which concerns you, in its purest compliance with this humour of theirs, and from a backwardness in my nature to disappoint any soul living, that I may have been so very particular already, as my life and opinions are likely to make some noise in the world, and if I conjecture right, will make them in all ranks, professions, and denominations of men wherever be no less read than the Pilgrim's Progress itself, and, in the end, prove the very thing which Montaigne dreaded in his essays should turn out, that this is a book for a parlour window. I find it necessary to consult every one in his little turn, and therefore must beg pardon for going on a little further in the same way. For which cause right glad am I that I have begun the history of myself in the way I have done, and that I am able to go on tracing everything in it, as Horace's ab ovo. Horace, I know, does not recommend this fashion altogether, but that gentleman is speaking only of an epic poem or a tragedy. I forget which. Besides, it was not so. I should have begged Mr. Horace's pardon, for in writing what I have set about, I shall confine myself neither to his rules, nor to any man's rules that ever lived. To such, however, I cannot choose to go so far back into these things. I can give no better advice than they skip over the remaining part of this chapter, for I declare beforehand 'tis wrote only for the curious inquisitive. Shut the door. I was begot in the late night betwixt the first Sunday and the first Monday of the month of March, in the year of our Lord 1718. I am positive I was. But how I came to be so very particular in my account of a thing which happened before I was born is owing to another small anecdote known only in our own family, but now made public for the better clearing up for this point. My father, you must know, who was originally a turkey merchant, but had left off business for some years in order to retire to and die upon his paternal estate in the country of, was, I believe, one of the most regular men in everything he did, whether 'twas matter of business or matter of amusement that ever lived. A small specimen of this extreme exactness of his, to which he was in truth a slave. He had made it a rule for many years of his life, on the first Sunday night of every month throughout the whole year, as certain as ever the Sunday night came, to wind up a large house clock, which we had standing upon the back stairs head with his own hands. And being somewhere between 50 and 60 years of age at the time I had been speaking of, he had likewise gradually brought some other little family concernments to the same period, in order, as he would often say to my Uncle Toby, to get them all out of the way at one time, and to be more plagued and pestered with them for the rest of the month. It was attended but with one misfortune, which in great measure I fell upon myself, and the effects of which I fear I shall carry with me to the grave. Namely, that from an unhappy association of ideas, which gave no connection in nature, it so fell out at length that my poor mother could never hear the clock wound up. But the thought of some other things unavoidably popped into her head, and vice versa. What strange combination of ideas! Sorry, we're whoops. Okay. Vice versa, with strange combination of the ideas. The sagacious Locke, who certainly understood the nature of these things better than most men, affirms to have produced more wry actions than all sources of prejudice whatsoever. But this is by the by. Now, it appears by a memorandum in my father's pocketbook, which now lies upon the table, that on Lady Day, which was on the 25th of the same month in which I date my geniture, my father was set out upon his journey to London with my eldest brother Bobby to fix him at Westminster School, and as it appears from the same authority, that he did not get down to his wife and family till the second week in May following. It brings the thing almost to a certainty. However, what follows in the beginning of the next chapter puts it beyond all possibility of doubt. But, pray, sir, what was your father doing all December, January, and February? Why, madam, he was at all that time afflicted with the sciatica. Chapter 5. On the 5th day of November, 1718, which to the era fixed on was near 9 calendar months, as any husband in reason have expected, was I, Tristram Shandy, gentleman, brought forth into this scurvy and disastrous world of ours. I wish I had been born in the moon, or any of the planets, except Jupiter and Saturn, because I never could bear the cold weather. For it could not have been well fared or worse for me in any of them, though I will not answer for Venus, than it has in this vile, dirty planet of ours, which, oh, my conscience, with reverence be it spoken, I take to make up of the shreds and clippings of the rest. Not but the planet is well enough, provided a man could be born it to a greater title or great estate, or could any how contrive to be called upon public charges and employments of dignity or power. But that's not my case. No. And therefore every man will speak of the fair as his own market has gone in it. For which I affirm, made it over again to be one of the vilest worlds that I was ever made. For I truly can say, from the first hour I drew breath in it, to this, that I can now scarce draw it at all, for an asthma I got in skating against the wind in Flanders. I have been the continual sport of what the world calls fortune, and though I will not wrong her by saying she has ever made me feel the weight of any great or signal evil, yet with all the good temper in the world, I affirm her of it, that in every stage of my life, at every turn and corner where she could get fairly at me, the ungracious Duchess has pelted me with a set of pitiful misadventures and cross accidents as ever the small hero sustained. Now, in the beginning of the last chapter, I informed you how exactly when I was born, but I did not inform you as how. No, That particular was reserved entirely for a chapter by itself. Besides, as you and I are no matter perfect strangers to each other, it would not have been proper to have you let you into too many circumstances relating to myself all at once. You must have a little patience. I have undertaken you, see, to write not only my life, but my opinions also, hoping and expecting that your knowledge of my character and what kind of mortal I am by the one would give you a better relish for the other. Now, as you proceed further with me, the slight acquaintance which is now beginning betwixt us will grow into familiarity, and that, unless one of us is in fault, will terminate the friendship. Oh, dim praecillarum. The nothing which has touched me will be thought trifling in this nature, or tedious in its telling. Therefore, my dear friend and companion, if you should think me somewhat sparingly of my narrative on my first setting out, bear with me, and let me go on, and tell my story my own way. Or if I should seem now, and then to trifle upon the road, or should sometimes put on a fool's cap with a bell to it for a moment or two as we pass along, don't fly off, but rather courteously give me credit for a little more wisdom than appears upon my outside. And as we jog on, either laugh with me, or at me, or, in short, do anything. Only, please, keep your temper. We'll take a break here for a minute. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the stream. We are reading Lawrence Stern, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. This character's kind of fun. He's basically giving an account of his life and his own opinions. So this has been, so realistically, Lawrence Stern is using Tristram as a means of sort of getting his thoughts out into the world, and you'll excuse me for a moment. Needed to do that. My hair is my hair's been kind of crazy as of late, and I kind of needed to put my hair up and kind of air out the back of my head. Growing out my hair for the last couple years has been an interesting journey, but we'll get back to that. In the meantime, a little tea. Before I continue on, just want to let you guys know that if you guys are following me, you guys can follow me on Instagram. There it is, JJ Wolf Official. If you want to donate to the channel, there's Venmo right there. You can go to @JJ Wolf Music, as always. And everything helps, guys. Everything helps. Everything helps. So every little bit helps. Also, if you check the description, I do have a merch shop, which, you know what? Let me take you guys there now. I guess we can take you guys there now. Let me see here. We can do this live. I believe so. Let me see here. Yes, we are streaming on Twitch at the moment. So we'll do this live. If you are streaming on Twitch, you can see... oh, sorry. Yeah, if you are streaming on Twitch, you can kind of see this. But for those of you who are not streaming on Twitch, let me go ahead and let's see. We'll put this on through the intermission here. We'll go through there. Let me see. Let me see here. We're gonna add. Let me see. I forget how to do this exactly. Oh, I know. Is it screen capture? Media source. Yes, it's screen capture. Okay. And we're going to... That's the one capture. You guys are seeing it for the first time. And we're going to go... There it is. We're going to hit OK. So if you guys look over here, I do have a merch store. I do have a merch store here. So you can see the store. And I've got some t-shirts for you guys. And all that wonderful stuff. Some t-shirts there. And then if you do want to make a donation, you can always donate. There's the page there, and you can always help make a donation there. So thank you guys very much for that. Oh, I just cut out the music like a dork. When all I needed to do was just do that. No worries, we'll get that back up there. This is what happens when you go live. You see all the weird stuff that happens. But not to worry. Not to worry. But thank you guys so much if you guys are watching or not watching or just simply passing through. Like I said, we are doing just some really fun stuff. And let's see, where were we? We were with Mozart. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Let's get on with it. Should pick up where we left off. And by the way, if you're if you're that's not where I wanted to get to. I don't know what had happened. Yeah, if you guys are having issues with issues with YouTube, and you don't like you guys don't like ads. I usually have an ad blocker somewhere, and there we go. They got it now. Okay, and we're back. There we go, and we're back. So we're back with the magic flute. It's perfect. Okay, so thank you guys so much for enduring that with me. Really appreciate it, you guys. So, getting back to the book now. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome. The name of the book is The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, and we're barely kind of covering the first, book or so. And, part of the reason why I'm doing this is because, on the one hand, I'm having trouble sleeping, and this is also great practice for the book on tape that I'm currently working on, to kind of get, because I've been kind of struggling. This is my first book on tape, by the way, and so I've been kind of struggling with, trying to get the dialogue, and I have a tendency to kind of like read ahead, like something in my mind like fills in the blanks and it's wrong. And I even do this in conversation. So for some of my friends who've been watching and having conversations with me throughout the years, you guys know that I try to finish your sentences for you. I apologize. I really do apologize. But this has been helping me to kind of curtail that. So anyway, let's get back to the book with Tristram Shandy, Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. Okay. And here we are. In the same village where my father and mother dwelt, dwelt also a thin, upright, motherly, notable, good old body of a midwife, who, with the help of a little plain good sense, and some years' full employment in her business, in which she had all the trusted little to her own efforts, and great deal to those of Dame Nature, had acquired by in her way no small degree of reputation in the world, by which world need I in this place inform you, your worship, that I would be understood to mean no more of it, than a small circle described upon the circle of the great world of 4 English miles in diameter, or thereabouts, of which the cottage where she, the good old woman, lived, is supposed to be the centre. She had been left, it seems, a widow, in great distress, with 3 or 4 small children, in her 47th year, and as she was at that time a person of decent carriage and grave deportment, a woman moreover of a few words, and withal an object of compassion, whose distress and silence under it called out the louder for a friendly lift. The wife of the parson of the parish was touched with pity, and having often lamented an inconvenience to which her husband's flock had for many years been exposed, inasmuch there was no such thing as a midwife, or any kind of degree to be got at, lest the case had been ever so urgent within less than 6 or 7 long miles riding, which said 7 long miles in dark nights and dismal roads, the country thereabouts being nothing but deep clay, was almost equal to 14. And all that, in effect, was sometimes next to having no midwife at all, so that it came into her head that it would be doing as seasonable a kindness to the whole parish as into the poor creature herself to get a little instructed in some of the plain principles of the business in order to set her apart in it. As no woman thereabouts was better qualified to execute the plan she had formed than herself, the gentlewoman very charitably undertook it, and having great influence over the female part of the parish, she found no difficulty in effecting it to the utmost of her wishes. In truth, the parson joined his interest with his wife, and in the whole affair, and in order to do such things as they should be, and give the poor soul as good a title by law to practice as his wife had been given by institution, he cheerfully paid the fees for the ordinary's license himself, amounting in the whole to the sum of 18 shillings and 4 pence, so that betwixt them both the good woman was fully invested in the real and corporal procession of her office, together with all its rights, members, and appurtenances whatsoever. These last words, you must know, were not according to the old form in which such licenses, faculties, and powers usually ran, which in like cases had therefore been granted to the sisterhood, but it was according to the neat formula of Didius, his own devising, who having a particular turn for taking to pieces, and new framing over again, all kind of instruments in that way, not only hit upon this dainty amendment, but coaxed many of the old licensed matrons in the neighborhood to open their faculties afresh in order to have this whim-wham of his inserted. I own I never could envy Didius in these kinds of fancies of his, but every man to his own taste. Did not Dr. Conanstrocus, that great man, at his leisure hours, take the greatest delight imaginable in combining of asses' tails and plucking the dead hairs out with his teeth, though he had tweezers always in his pocket? Nay, if you come to that, sir, you have not the wisest men in all ages, not excepting Solomon himself. Have they not had their hobby horses, their running horses, their coins and their cockle shells, their drums and their trumpets, their fiddlers, their pallets, their maggots, and their butterflies? And so long as a man rides his hobby horse peaceably and quietly along the king's highway, and neither compels you or me get up behind him, pray, sir, what have either you or I to do with it? Chapter 8. Distigibus non est disputandum. That is, there is no disputing against hobby horses, and for my part, I seldom do, nor could I with any sort of grace, had I been an enemy to them at the bottom, for happening at certain intervals and changes to the moon to be both fiddler and painter, according as the fly strings. Be it known to you that I keep a couple of pads myself, upon which in their turns, nor do I care for who knows it, I frequently ride out and take the air, though sometimes to my shame be it spoken, I take somewhat longer journeys than what a wise man would think altogether is right. But the truth is, I am not a wise man, and besides, am a moral of so little consequence in the world, it is not much matter what I do. So I seldom fret or fume at it all about it, nor does it much disturb my rest when I see such great lords and tall personages as hereafter follow, such, for instance, as my lord A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, and so on, all of a row, mounted upon their several horses, some with large stirrups, getting on in a more grave and somber pace, others on the contrary, tucked up to their very chins, with whips across their mouths, scurrying and scampering it away like so many little party-coloured devils astride a mortgage, and if some of them were resolved to break their necks, so much the better, I say to myself. For in case the worst should happen, the world will make a shift too excellently well without them. And for the rest, why, excellently well without them. Excuse me. And for the rest, why, Godspeed with them. E'en then, let them ride on, without opposition from me. For were their lordships unhorsed this very night, 'tis 10 to 1, but that many of them would be worse mounted than by 1/2 before tomorrow morning. Not one of these instances, therefore, can be said to break in upon my rest. But there is an instant which I own puts me off my guard, and that is when I see one born for great actions, and what is still more, for his honor, whose nature ever inclines him to good ones. When I behold such a one, my lord, like yourself, whose principles and conduct are as generous and as noble as his blood, and whom for what then reason a corrupt world cannot spare one moment. When I see such a one, my lord, mounted, though it is but for a minute beyond the time which my love to my country has prescribed to him, and my zeal for his glory wishes, then, my lord, I cease to be a philosopher, and in the first transport of an honest impatience, I wish the hobby horse with all his fraternity at the devil. My lord, I maintain this to be a dedication, notwithstanding its singularity in the 3 great essentials of matter, form, and place. I beg, therefore, you will accept it as much, and that you will permit me to lay it with the most respectful humility at your lordship's feet, when you are upon them, which you can be when you please, and that is, my lord, whenever there is occasion for it. And I will add, to the best purposes too, I have the honor to be, my lord, your lordship's most obedient and most devoted and most humble servant, Tristram Shandy. I solemnly declare to all mankind that the above dedication was made for no one prince, prelate, pope, potentate, duke, marquis, earl, viscount, or baron of this or any other realm in Christendom, nor has it been hawked about or offered publicly or privately, directly or indirectly to any one person or personage, or great or small, but is honestly a true virgin dedication, untried upon any soul living. I labor this point so particularly merely to remove any offense or objection which might arise against it, from the manner which I propose to make the most of it, which is putting it up fairly to public sale, which I do now. Every author has his own way in bringing his points to bear. For my part, as I hate chaffering and higgling for a few guineas in a dark entry, I resolved within myself from the very beginning to deal squarely and openly with your great folks in this affair, and try whether I should not come off by the better of it. If, therefore, there is any one duke, marquis, earl, viscount, or baron in these his majesty's dominions, who stands in need of a tight, genteel dedication, and whom the above will suit, for by the by, unless it suits in some degree, I will not part with it, inasmuch as his service for 50 guineas, which I am positive is 20 guineas less than it ought to be afforded for by any man of genius. My lord, if you examine it over again, it is as far from being a gross piece of daubling as some dedications are. The design your lordship sees is good, the colouring transparent, the drawing not amiss, or to speak more like a man of science, and measure my piece in the painter's scale, divided into 20. I believe, my lord, the outlines will turn out as 12 to the composition, 9 to the colouring, and 6 to the expression, 13.5, and the design, if I may be allowed, my lord, to understand my own design, and supposing absolute perfection in designing as to be 20. I think it cannot well fall short of 19. Besides all this, there is keeping in it, and the dark strokes in the hobby horse, which is a secondary figure and a kind of lack of background to the whole, give great force to the principal lights in your own figure, and make it come off wonderfully. And besides, there is an air of originality in the tout ensemble. Be pleased, my good lord, to order the sum to be paid into the hands of Mr. Dodsley for the benefit of the author, and in the next edition care shall be taken that this chapter be expunged, and your lordship's titles, distinctions, arms, and good actions be placed at the front of the preceding chapter, all which from the words de justilibus non est dispundatum, and whatever else in this book relates to hobby horses, but no more, shall stand dedicated to your lordship. The rest I dedicate to the moon, who, by the by, of all the patrons or matrons I can think of, has the most power to set my book a-going, and make the world run mad after it. Bright goddess, if thou art not too busy with Candid and Miss Cungud's affairs, take Tristram Shandy's under thy protection also. Chapter 10. Whatever degree of small merit, the act of, I know it says benignity, whatever that word is. We found the first word that I can't, I mean, the Latin's kind of, okay, it's meh. Breaking characters, sorry guys. Here we go. Okay. Benignity in favor of the midwife might justly claim, or in whom that claim truly rested, at first sight seems not very material to this history. Certain, however, it was, that the gentlewoman, the parson's wife, did run away at the time with the whole of it, And yet for my life I cannot help thinking but that the patron himself, though he had not the good fortune to hit upon the design first, yet as he heartily concurred in the moment, it was laid before him, and heartily parted with his money to carry it into full execution, had claim to some share of it, if not to a full half of whatever honor was due upon it. The world at that time was pleased to determine the matter otherwise. Lay down the book, and I will allow you a half a day to give a probable guess at the grounds of this procedure. Be it known, then, that for about 5 years before the date of the midwife's license, of which you have had so circumstantial an account, the parson we have to do with had made himself a country talk. Reading to nobody is wild, but we are reading. Okay. Hello, good friend Slaughterhouse. How are you? How reading to no one is wild. Well, someone would absolutely come in, and you have. Well, best of luck to you, my friend, as well. I mean, the whole point of this is to give people, think about reading. And clearly, folks, here we have it. A lack of reading, and this person cannot spell. Only using the very small words he can only absolutely produce. My friend, I am so sorry for you. But please, move on. Move on. Move on. Move on, my friend. Oh, brother. No. I'm so sorry you cannot color your discourse. I feel sad for you, my friend. I feel very sad for you, my friend. You cannot even color your discourse appropriately. I mean, we're a very classy bunch here. Yes, and I am reading to no one. My friends, please forgive me and the manners of this person. Forgive me, I don't mean to disparage you. I know I'm being attacked and I'm being trolled, but that is the nature of the internet. And I'm sure you can read very well, and I'm sure you can spell very beautifully. And I'm sure you can color your discourse as eloquently as the next person. So, with that being said, I do apologize for the rest of my viewers who have to deal with this person who's trying to get a rise and won't. But thank you for the discourse, either way. How fun was that? How fun was that, my friends? That was a lot of fun. And of course, we will no longer see that or pay it any heed. Oh no, we have other people. I'm streaming to multiple sources right now. It's only me who you're talking to. I'm multi-streaming to other places. So you're not the only one who's watching this. Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, 3 viewers altogether, but I have viewers in other places. So, the other people are enjoying the book. So, I know you're on Kick right now, but I have people on Facebook, on YouTube, who are watching at the moment. So, and to another channel that I have. So, anyway, if only. If only, my friend. If only. If only. Let's see. Where was I? Well, I don't own any. I don't own any. And honestly, for what it is that I do, it's for what it is that I do, it's not really something that I would have an interest in. So, I mean, it's not a bad idea though. Definitely not a bad idea. Definitely something that I could definitely get into. I mean, I do books on tape as it is. So, no, moron. No. I'm not. It's just not something that I'm into. Although it is a nice idea, though. It's a very nice idea. It's always the gay thing. People just automatically assume. No, I'm not gay. But anyway, I will continue. Anyway, thank you, folks. For those of you who are watching, we have a bit of a bot here, and a couple of the people. But the discourse is nice. The discourse is very nice. Tell by the beard. No, my friend. Nope. Sorry. Your gaydar is off. Anyway. Let's see here. All right. We're going to take a really quick break here. Give me 1 second. Enjoy the music, and we'll be right back for a second. And just like that. Sorry, I had to do a little in-house cleaning. But that's one thing I just will not stand for. I shouldn't have to defend myself over stupid internet comments. This whole channel is built on that. And you know what? I'll take accountability with this. Is like, I edged this on. I know I did. And it just takes a few seconds to quickly ban someone. But no one deserves to be talked to the way that this person came across to me, and then I kind of responded. But I know it brings views to the channel, but I try to be as polite as possible to make it be known that I'm not going to tolerate any kind of bullying towards myself or anybody else on this channel. So for all of you guys who are watching in the other places who saw the stream and were commenting, I do apologize for that. This is not a stream where I want that type of stuff. So I really appreciate that. So this is not that. My thing is supposed to be mostly what is it's only supposed to be what supposed to be about reading, about all of that, because I work with kids, and a lot of these kids don't read books, and so I know that streaming and it doesn't matter where, because it could be, it's midnight now, but in any other part of the world somebody could be up, and I'm having to read a book, and finding something that in a funny voice or whatever it could be. But yeah, this whole thing is supposed to be about sharing some culture. I mean, a lot of the books that I do have don't see much. A lot of the books that I have, I talk to folks about them, and a lot of folks have never heard of Lawrence Stern. Some people, I have some bigger ones here, like Kurt Vonnegut or Kafka, and then I have here, of course, everyone knows Robert Louis Stevenson. Everyone knows Alexander Dumas. People know Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and I also have Dracula and Shakespeare and Tolkien. I have the entire Lord of the Rings here as well. I also have a collection of Irish fairy tales. I also have a copy of Dante's Inferno, The Last Mohican, which, I also have a collection of James Bond novels. So there's plenty of stuff to be read and things like that. But yeah, this channel's mostly for the uplifting. So if you're not down with uplifting, you're only down with tearing down, then move on. Because, I'm 34 years old. I'm not in a spot to be, dealing with immaturity. It's just plain and simple. Plain and simple. So, we're moving on. We'll do one more chapter tonight, and then we'll call it an evening. So, if you want to pick up this book, it's called The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. Again, done by the author Lawrence Stern. Born 1713, died 1768. The music we've been listening to is Mozart, who was alive during the publishing of this book, and so the music is very fitting. I will always try to do things like pairing music together, because I am a musician, and I do other things as well. So With that said, let's go ahead and finish this. And let's see. Where were we? Let's see, where were we? Oh, we're still on volume 1. I seem to have missed my place here. Chapter 7. Yeah, we went through chapter 8. We were at chapter 10. Let's see. All right, we'll go back to the last chapter here. And we'll put this all together. All right, here we go. Thank you. All right. So lay down the book, and I will allow you half a day to give a probable guess at the grounds of this procedure. Be it known then that for 5 years before the date of the midwife's license, of which you have so circumstantial an account by the parson to do with, had made himself a country talk by a breach of all decorum, which he had committed against himself, his station, his office, that was never appearing better or otherwise mounted than upon a lean, sorry jackass of a horse, valued at about £1.15, who, to shorten all description of him, was full brother to Rosenstand, as far as similitude congenial would make him, for he answered in his description to a hairbreadth in everything, except that I do not remember 'tis where said that Rosentain was broken-winded. That, moreover, he is the happiness of most Spanish horses, fat or lean, was undoubtedly a horse at all points. I know very well that the hero's horse was a horse of chaste deportment, which may have given grounds for a contrary opinion, but it is certain at the same time that Rosenstein's consistency, as you may be demonstrated from the adventure of the Yanyuisan carriers, proceeded from no bodily defect or cause whatsoever, but from the temperance and orderly current of his blood. And let me tell you, madam, there's a great deal of very good chastity in the world, in behalf of which you could not say more for your life. Let that be as it may. As my purpose is to do exact justice to every creature brought upon the stage of this dramatic work, I could not stifle in this distinction in favor of Don Quixote's horse, but in all other points the parson's horse, I say, was such another, for he was lean, and as lank, and as sorry as a jade, as humility herself could have bestrided. In the estimation of here and there a man's weak judgment, it was greatly in the parson's power to have helped the figure of this horse of his, for he was master of a very handsome demi-pack saddle, quilted upon the seat with green plush, garnished with a double row of silver-headed studs, and noble pair of shining brass stirrups, with a housing altogether suitable, of grey superfine cloth, with an edging of black lace, terminating in a deep black silk fringe, a poudre d'or, all which he had purchased in the pride and prim of his life, altogether with a grand embossed bridle, ornamented in all points as it should be. But not caring to banter his beast, he had hung all of these up behind his study door, and, in lieu of them, had seriously befitted him with just such a bridle that made such a saddle as the figure and value of such steed might well and truly deserve. In the several sallies about his parish, and in the neighboring visits to the gentry who lived around him, you will easily comprehend that the parson so appointed would both hear and see enough to keep his philosophy from rusting. To speak the truth, he never entered a village, but he caught the attention of both young and old. Labor stood as he passed. The bucket hung suspended in the middle of the well. The spinning wheel forgot its round. Even Chuck Farthing and Shuffle Cap themselves stood gaping till he had got out of sight, as his movement was not the quickest. He had generally time enough on his hands to make his observations, to hear the groans of the serious and the laughter of the light-hearted, all which he bore with excellent tranquillity. His character, he loved a jest in his heart, as he saw himself in the true point of the ridicule. He would say he would not be angry with others for seeing him in a light in which he so strongly saw himself, so that to his friends, who knew his foible was not the love of money, and who therefore made the less scruple in bantering the extravagance of his humor, instead of giving the true cause, he chose to rather join in the laugh against himself, as he never carried one single ounce of flesh above his own bones, being altogether as spare as a figure as his beast. He would sometimes insist upon it, that the horse was as good as the rider deserved, and that they were centaur-like, both apiece. At other times, in other moods, when his spirits were above the temptation of false wit, he would say he found himself going off fast and in a consumption, and with great gravity would pretend he would not bear the sight of a fat horse without dejection of heart and sensible alteration in his pulse, and that he had made a choice of the lean one he rode upon, not only to keep himself in countenance, but in spirits. At different times he would give 50 humorous apposite reasons for riding a meek-spirited jade of broken-winded horse, preferably to one's mettle, for on such one he could sit mechanically and meditate as delightfully as with the advantage of a death's head before him. And in all other exaggerations, he could spend his time as he rode slowly along to as much as a count in his study. He could draw up argument in his sermon, or a hole in his breeches, as steadily on the one as in the other, and the brisk trotting and slow argumentation like wit and judgment. But there were two incompatible movements. But that upon his steed he would unite and reconcile everything. He could compose his sermon. He could compose his cough. Well, he could. And in case in nature give a call that way. He could likewise compose himself to keep sleep. In short, the parson upon such encounters would assign any cause but the true cause. And he withheld the one true cause only out of a nicety of temper, because he thought it did honor to him. But the truth of the story was as follows. In the first years of this gentleman's life, and about the time when the superb saddle and bridle were purchased by him, it had been his manner or vanity, or call it what you will, to run into the opposite extreme, in the language of the country where he was dwelt. He's said to have loved a good horse, and generally had one of the best in the whole parish standing in a stable, always ready for saddling. And as the nearest midwife, as I told you, did not live nearer to the village than 7 miles, and in a vile country, it so fell out that the poor gentleman was scarce a whole week together without some piteous application for his beast, and he was not an unkind-hearted man, and every case was more pressing and more distressful than the last. As much as he loved his beast, he never had a heart to refuse him, the upshot of which was generally this, that the horse was neither clapped, or spavined, or greased, or he was twitter-bonded, or broken-winded, or something in short, or that had fallen him which would let him carry no flesh, so that he had very good 9 or 10 months of a bad horse to get rid of, and a good horse to purchase in his stead. What the loss in such a balance might account to, I would leave to a special jury of sufferers in the same traffic to determine. But let it be what it would. The honest gentleman bore it for many years without a murmur, till at length by repeated ill accidents of the kind he found it necessary to take the thing under consideration. And upon weighing of the whole, and summing it up to his mind, he found that not only disproportioned to his other experiences, but with so heavy an article in itself, as to disable him from any other act of generosity in his parish. Besides this, he considered, with half the sum thus galloped away, he could do 10 times much as good with what still weighed more with him than all other considerations put together. Was this: that he confined all his charity into one particular channel, and where, as he fancied, it was the least wanted, namely to the childbearing and child-getting part of his parish, reserving nothing for the important, nothing for the aged, nothing for the many comfortless scenes he was hourly called forth to visit, where poverty and sickness and affliction dwelt all together. For these reasons he resolved to discontinue the expense, and there appeared but 2 possible ways to extricate himself clearly out of it, and these were either to make an irrevocable law, never more to lend his steed upon any application whatsoever, or else be contented to ride the last poor devil, and as they had made him, with all his aches and infirmities, to the very end of his own chapter. As he dreaded his own consistency in the first, he very cheerfully betook himself to the second, and though he could very well have explained it, as I said, to his honor, yet for that very reason he had a spirit above it, choosing rather to bear the contempt of his enemies and the laughter of his friends than undergo the pain of telling a story which might have seen a panegyric upon himself. I have the slightest idea of the spiritual and redefined sentiments of this reverend gentleman, from the single stroke in his character which I believe comes to any of the whom honest refinements of this peerless knight of La Mancha, whom, by the by, with all his follies, I love more, and would actually have gone further to pay a visit to than the greatest hero of antiquity. But this is not the moral of my story. No. The thing I had in view was to show the temper of the world in the whole of this affair, for you must know that so long in this explanation would have done the parson credit. The devil a soul could not find it out. I suppose his enemies would not, and that his friends would not. But no sooner did he bestir himself in behalf of the midwife, and pay the expenses of the ordinary's license to set her up, but the whole secret came out. Every horse he had lost, and 2 horses more than ever he had lost, and when all the circumstances of their destruction were known and distinctly remembered, the story ran like wildfire. The parson had a returning fit of pride which had just seized him, and he was going to be well mounted once again in his life. And if it was so, 'twas as plain as the sun at noonday he would pocket the expense of the license 10 times fold of the very first year, so that everybody was left to judge what his views in this act of charity. What were his views in this, and in every other action of his life? Or rather, what were the opinions which floated in the brains among the other people concerning it? Was a thought which too much floated in his own, and too often spoke upon his rest when he should have been sound asleep? About 10 years ago, this gentleman had the good fortune to be made entirely easy upon that score. It had been just so long since he left his parish, and the whole world at the same time behind him, and stands accountable to a judge of whom he will have no cause to complain. But there is a fatality attends the actions of some men. Order them as they will pass through a certain medium, which so twists and refracts them from their true directions, that with all the titles to praise, with the recessitude of heart can give, but the doers of them are nevertheless forced to live and die without it. Of the truth of this gentleman was a painful example. But to know by what means this came to pass, And to make that knowledge of use to you, I insist upon that you read the following 2 chapters, which contain such a sketch of his life and conversation as will carry its moral along with it. When it's done, if nothing stops us in our way, we will go on with the midwife. And that's the end of chapter 10. It's the end of chapter 10. So, that was the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy. Again, this book contains several volumes. The way this book was originally published was, as with most things, started out as a series of essays by the author, and then as the popularity of these essays grew and grew and grew, more and more volumes were written. He gains some sort of fame and notoriety in London, and the way that this these series of volumes is laid out is it's supposed to be it's sort of like a one-man play. He's telling his life story to you and also expressing things that he believes or things that he sees within his own community. So some pretty fun stuff. We're not going to get through the entire book in one sitting. That I can promise you for sure. Because this book is about what is it? Almost 9 volumes. So it's about 9 volumes of stuff. So this is a one copy of this is like 10 in 1, 9 in 1. Sorry, can't read my Roman numerals. Yeah, this is 9 in 1, and some of these volumes are like some of these chapters are like stupidly long. I've gotten to maybe about, I want to say, volume 6, chapter. Wait, where did I leave my mark here? No, I was on. There it is. There's a little pencil marker. It was volume 7, chapter 1. So this is. So I got to about this section of the book. So like that much left to go, but I stopped reading it. Because I got busy with other things. So anyway, let's see what time. Where are we at with the stream right now? Let's see, where are we? So if you're watching this, again, thank you so much, the 2 viewers on Kick who are watching this, and for those of you, we got someone on Twitch watching right now. Thank you so much. You've been watching on Twitch. Again, this has been Late Night Reading. I really appreciate you guys coming in onto the stream and leaving your comments, thoughts, concerns. However, one thing I will reiterate: this channel is not meant to. I will not engage in any kind of bullying behavior. I'm 34. I'm too old for that nonsense. And yeah, I'm just not going to be bullied into doing things or have my sexuality called into question. Not cool. I know what I am, where I stand. And I know that it is Pride Month, and I am an ally for sure. But yeah, this is supposed to be a safe space for all, and for all who sit here, all for who watch. And again, this was just mainly just for reading and getting people to get out there and find some books. I've been a teacher for a while, working with tutoring services and um, just finding that, a lot of folks, a lot of kids right now are having trouble reading. And I grew up um, reading a lot of books, and if I could, if I can pan and show you just the level of books that I have. I have a whole ton of these things. I even have some comic books and some. I have, I think. Yeah, I have I have a ton of stuff in here. Um, but either way, but either way, so this whole thing is about to get. I have original music. I also perform covers, and this late night reading started because um, I have trouble falling asleep. Um, uh, and this kind of helps me sort of relax the brain a little bit without having the use of aids. And the tea that I've been drinking is a flower tea that has no caffeine in it, so that also kind of helps. But it's still nice and warm. And it's got a ton of honey in it. So yeah. But again, I appreciate you all. If you do want to, if you do wish to care and follow the stream, again, I am always willing to accept new followers and things like that. If you want, you can follow me on Instagram. If you want to donate to the channel, you can also donate here. You can always donate. And if at any time I get something into the stream where either someone is being attacked or even I'm being called into question, without question, like, you're banned, like, you're gone. I have no time or energy for that space. And I'll probably look back on this video and kind of see, like, yeah, and I know that, like, I antagonized the person because I was like, yeah, because I'm, first it started out as friendly, and then it just kind of escalated, and I try to do it like in the very polite way to, like, hey, sorry you can't color your discourse a little bit better, like, sorry that you're having to do that, because clearly the person could not spell and was trying to just get a rise out of me and all that. And we can color our discourse a little bit better. I would suggest, please, folks, pick up a book, a newspaper. Books are dying; they're on their way out. And so I don't want to see the written word just disappeared. Anyway, that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I do apologize for what the viewers will see. There's no way that I can edit that out. I may just have to delete this, but I don't know. I'll leave it on for about a day or so, and then we'll see what happens. Anyway, but that's what you kind of get with the internet. You get people that don't understand what it is you're trying to do. People try to disrespect you. And I just want to say to everybody who's out there right now, it's a tough world in which we live in. People don't understand. And if people don't understand, they attack. And I think we need to get to a place where we understand where people are coming from, and we need to hold our own boundaries and, hold people accountable for what they do. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. They're not going to see it because they haven't evolved to that next spot. And even, and we have to give grace at all times. You have to give grace because people are where they're at, and you have to take them at their value at that moment. And that's fine. They're human beings, and you know, the way with the way I feel everything's going right now, politically in the world, just after we've survived COVID, we've done all that. I think it's just high time that we pressed on, and we do better things, and we treat each other better, and just kind of do it that way. Yeah. So anyway, to the person I banned, I'm sorry I had to ban you, but that's a hard no. And sorry, but not sorry. But what I'm trying to say I'm sorry for is that I'm sorry that you can't color your discourse. I'm sorry that that's what you felt that you needed to say at that moment. And I don't know if whatever it is that you're going through, I just pray that you come out of it better than you were tonight, and that you go on with your life, and that either you seek help or find better friends. Anyway, that's all for tonight. So thank you guys again very much. As always, you are all amazing creations. You are all amazing human beings. And with your presence, you do change the world every day. So act on that. Be that. Elevate yourselves and elevate the people around you. So, as always, we will see you guys later. Be blessed. And God bless you guys. Whatever God is to you. So, be blessed. Be well. Good night, all.